Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday number 55. What is Kriya Yoga? Questioner. I have read the Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda, and in that book he refers to Kriya Yoga as the best means to liberation. What is Kriya Yoga? Okay, Kriya and karma. These are two words that are the opposite of each other. Kriya is the purifying actions that you do with a conscious intention. Karma is actions that you do in the daytime that have consequences to them. And they could be good or bad consequences. But they're usually unconscious behavior patterns that you do. So this creates karma for you. So, for instance, like if you are going about your day and most people act unconsciously, like they act like their parents acted, or how social norms are, or they're just trying to get by in life. And these actions will have consequences to them. For instance, like you are striving to get ahead in your work field, and but you're doing all the actions to get ahead, but something in your personal life situation might be getting in the way of you striving for your goal and getting your goal. But then what will happen is you build this anger, and then you're resisting the way things are in life. And so you go to work and your coworkers are feeling your anger, and then you create animosity, and it's no longer a good work environment, and then you bring that home and it's smeared all over your relationship with your family members, and instead of you getting what you want in life, getting your goals and feeling the pride of that, you're feeling miserable and you're experiencing suffering. And this is all karmic behavior, karmic actions. So this is actions with consequences. But Kriya Yoga is a whole other thing, and a yogi is one who will practice kriyas. And generally, kriyas come in the form of things like pranayams, breathing exercises, bandhas, or locks that you do in your body, mantra recitations, sounds, listening to sounds and creating these different vibratory sounds, moving through the chakra system, intuitions, developing or sharpening your senses, developing your imaginations, all of these things that capacities that we have as human beings, but we are deliberately tuning them, sharpening them, developing them, making us as a human being stronger and have more capacity to handle life situations so that we become strong. So it's developing a strong foundation for higher states of consciousness to happen. And so Kriya Yoga comes in the form of 3 different components. And the first one is tapas, austerities. You're practicing hardships. You're going against your preferences for the sake of a transformation in your nervous system, and where your heart opens, your mind opens. So, for instance, you've got a difficulty going on in your life, and instead of complaining and running away and resisting and doing your lower nature type things, you are instead deciding to take on the hardship for the sake of transforming you to get a power that you never had before. So tapas is purifying your lower natures, your lower tendencies of tamas and rajas, or sluggishness and reactivity, into into a state of receptivity, acceptance, embracing, and opening. So these are a necessary things that in order to live higher states of consciousness, you need to have a very strong capacity to bear difficulties and not complain about them. As a matter of fact, benefit a new power that you never had before. So that's tapas. The second one is swadhyay, which is studying your mind and studying your higher self. So studying the mind might be coming in the form of observing your mental patterns. And you're noticing that the more often you observe and study, then you start to see these patterns, and some patterns end up in problematic areas. So now as you study them, you are gaining an ability to say, I'm not going to do that pattern anymore. I'm going to change my pattern. So you're studying it. So you're no longer going into reactivity. You are now becoming more of an observer, one who is witnessing. And in that, you have another power of not getting caught up by being a victim to the whims and tirades of your mind. Rather, you are the master of your mind, because now you see how it all works and you can make a decision about how you want to play something out. And it's also that when you practice studying your mind, there's a kind of a spaciousness that starts to happen because of the watchfulness that you're developing. And in that watchfulness, you are feeling more free. There's a freedom that happens inside of you. You feel more sort of on top of things, not weighed down by life. There's a kind of an ability to just softly move through life without it really affecting you in such a way. And so this is something that develops out of this watchfulness, the studying of your mental patterns. And the last one is Ishwara Pranidhan, which is you are now opening and offering your actions and intentions up to something higher than your ego preferences, so your ego or ego ideals. So you are, as a result of the tapas and the austerities that you've practiced, as a result of studying your mind, now you're in this new level, I could say, where you become so sensitive and refined even, that you're recognizing that the ego always takes you towards suffering. And so if the ego is running your show, then you're going to end up with karma, more consequences to your behaviors. And so this weighs you down and prevents you from living higher states of consciousness. So what happens to the yogi, the one who's practicing in this way, is they realize that there's something greater and something more powerful than the ego. Thank God there is, because this is so limiting. And you recognize the limitations of coming from the ego, which is just a false idea of who you are, really. You want to know who you are, and you don't want to suffer anymore. This is us as yogis. We don't want to suffer anymore. So we go and find a teacher that will teach us these most purifying actions, and that will teach us how to study the mind and observe, and that will teach us how to surrender and let go. And this is what a Kriya Yogi does, and that's what Yogananda was talking about. So what really happens when you practice Kriya Yoga is that your heart opens, and you realize that you are now in a state of unconditional love, which means that the divine now is wanting to be in your vehicle, in your physical body, because you've purified it. You've made it a welcoming space for the divine to enter. And all that ends up happening for you now is that you just feel this state of unconditional love. You have so much energy, so much love, and so much ability. All you want to do now is share this love state with all other beings. And on top of it, after you've purified yourself and you know what the techniques are, you know how to get to that state, you want to share it. And then everyone will want to be with you because you are vibrating at a higher level. So Yogananda in the Autobiography of a Yogi is referring to this tradition of teachings which are practical exercises that will help any individual who has a desire to be free of their karma. So welcome to Kriya Yoga. I'll see you next Wednesday for Wisdom Wednesday with Miranda Squires. Bye.